Okay, so welcome to the soap of the month for January. So it's my first one for this year. Seems like fun, it's a little disconcerting. Anyway, so I've got my oils measured out and I've melted the solid ones. This is my Castile soap recipe. So if you want the recipe, it's on my blog. The first post in January has 3 soap recipes in it. Okay, so that's my oils in the bowl. Just going to check. Temperature at 24. The lye should be about the same. 19. So it's not far from it. Okay. So I'm probably going to whiz through the actual mixing process because you've seen that before. So I'm just prepping the decoration and other bits. So in this little pot I've got some Epsom salt, and I'm going to stick in a little bit of silver white mica. These ones came with these cute little spoons, quite nice. I don't think I'm going to need very much, just a wee tad. All I want to do is make my salt here a little bit shiny. You can get salt for soap. Epsom salt is regularly put in baths anyway. This won't last particularly long in terms of washing. There may be 1 or 2 uses, but that should be fine. So I've got, not sure how well it's going to come out. I'm going to turn on big light. That's better. So it's got a nice kind of pearly kind of colour to it. So I'll put that to one side. I've measured out my fragrance oil. This is about 15 grams of winter spice, which has got a real, it's kind of a sweet and spicy kind of flavour, rather than being a strong kind of spice. It's got a nice kind of gentle flavour to it, or scent to it. So, and into my oils I'm going to put a little bit of blue, because I want this whole thing to be in a contrast to the salt. So I don't know quite how much I'm going to need. It's only about £1.5 pounds of salt of oils in this recipe, so about 1.5 of this size of teaspoon, or tiny spoon. So I'll adjust that as I go, I think. So I'm just going to blend that into my oils. It doesn't want to blend into the oils. I think that's okay kind of colour. Castile soap has kind of a natural, very white, creamish kind of colour, slightly off-white colour. So adding a slightly dark, slightly metallic colour to it should hopefully turn out quite nice. So I'm just going to double check my temperatures again. So this is at 21, this is at 22, so I'm pretty much dead on. So before I do that, I'm just going to spray my moulds. I need to shake it with some rubbing alcohol. I think I'm only going to get about 7 out of this batch, but spray all the holes just in case. Right, so there's that. Now let's trade out the spatula. Stick in the stick blender. Stay. And tip the lye down the stick blender. I don't know if that helps any. None of the videos I've seen have really been definitive over whether that actually helps the situation, but That'll be fine. Give it a gentle mix with the stick blender and then start whizzing. Now the science bit of soap making means that you don't really need to mix it until it reaches trace. Essentially, lye mixed with fat is going to saponify, it's going to solidify. Just sometimes it will take a little longer than you expect. So once it's mixed and emulsified, you can pretty much stick it in your moulds, which is what I'm going to do. So you can see it's still kind of soupy. Which is fine for me. Once it's moulded, I'm going to let it sit for about an hour or so, and then it will become solid enough to decorate. Okay, so these are set for about 45 minutes and they just sit on the surface. There's a little bit of wobble there, but not a lot. So what I've done is I've made a whole load of little snowflakes. So this is greaseproof paper, and it's got a shiny side and a dull side, so you want to use the shiny side down. I just want to trim this down a bit, so I don't want them to overlap each other. I want to get the snowflake pretty much in the middle, if that's the plan. Like that. And the surface here, kind of the skin, will hold it in place. Now I'm going to take my Epsom salt with a little bit of that white sparkly mica on it, and just try for a neat single layer. So once I've got all these covered, I have a choice to make. Do I lift them up immediately, or do I leave them on to give the soap a chance to grab the salt? I think because this one in the corner here looks a little bit raggedy, I'm going to use this as my test case. So I'm going to very gently use the back of my spoon just to press just along the top, just to kind of convince it to stay flat. And then lift up a corner. Looks okay. Try very quickly. Okay, that's why we do a test run. So no. I'll leave the rest in place. I'll give them all a very gentle tap. Just to make sure the salt is sticking. So that is my first soap of the month, and I'll show you some finished pictures once it comes out the mould. So I'll leave these for about 24 hours. I'll probably remove the paper after about 12, I think, because they should be solid enough to do that without completely collapsing. So if I remember, I'll come back to you in 12 hours. I'm not sure if that's too bright or not. It's a bit better. But the sun's coming in through there, I think. There's no blinds at that end, so apologies if it comes out a bit too bright, but these soaps have sat for almost 3 days now because I was busy with other things. So I'll tell you what I did. After 12 hours I took off the second one here, and if you can see in that angle, there, but it kind of peeled up the edges of the soap. So I decided to leave them until I was ready to actually take them out of the moulds. So I removed the first two. I'm going to keep them on the tray because I don't really want this salt going everywhere. So this is my first messy one. It's a real mess. It's still a little sticky, little soft. Because again it is Castile soap, so it takes a while to set anyway. So that one looks a little ugly, but never mind. And this one is accidentally ugly. And again, still very soft on the corners and edges. So this is Castile, so it's going to need a good 6 weeks or even 8 weeks to set and be usable. So I'm just going to pull the mould on these and then take the paper off, and I'm going to kind of do it like removing a plaster, so come in from the inside and whip it off so that most of the excess ends up on the tray and not everywhere else. Not looking too bad. I was concerned that the paper would give an odd effect on the surface. It really hasn't. So that's a relief. The scent is really, it's not super strong, but it's really carrying quite nicely. So I've still got some of the excess sitting on top here, so I will just gently tip that off as I demould. So I've still got slightly shiny snowflakey design. Now, considering I was undecided whether or not to use this technique or to try and stamp the soap when it was set, even after 3 days I couldn't have stamped this because it's still way too soft. So I would have been looking at this and not knowing quite what to do. So at this point it is a finished soap. I'm going to leave it at least a month before I trim the edges and tidy up, because I've got a bit of kind of overfill and things. So I just want to tidy and kind of bevel the edges slightly. But for now, I'm quite happy with this one. I'm again using my makeshift curing rack. I'm going to have to move that. Which certainly does the job. But I've already got plans in motion to make an actual purpose-built curing rack type box that I can either keep in the shed or bring into the house, depending on weather and conditions in the shed. The only issue I've got is if I do keep it in the shed and I've got soaps curing, when I'm doing woodwork I'm also going to be producing a lot of dust. So I'm wondering about how I can seal in the curing rack. So whether I end up using a couple of layers of fabric or something, or a plastic layer, but I still want it to be breathable, so it's a bit of a catch-22 really. So that is the first batch of soap of the month. This one I think I'm calling Snowflake Sparkle, I think is the name I was giving it. So yeah, it don't look too bad. I know the soap, the salt's going to come off within pretty much the first use, so it's just there for decoration. I love the scent. The colour's a little lighter than I would like, but I think it kind of works with that slightly stormy, snowy outlook. And considering I'm filming this in the middle of January, we actually have snow forecast. We had a little flurry yesterday, which didn't really come to much, which is kind of typical. But we've had a little bit of snow when I'm making snowy soap. So yeah, I think it's appropriate. Now this is going to sit in the top of my wardrobe for at least a month, and I'll have a look. So I expect this is going to need at least 2 months before it's completely cured and ready to use. Now, how you can gauge whether it's cured or not is, well, you can use it, and if it's slimy or it kind of dissolves quickly, it needs more time. Or you can take a piece of your batch, a soap out of your batch, and weigh it, and then when you come to check, you weigh it again, and most of the time your soap's going to lose pretty much a half to a third of the water you put in. So if you work out what your weight of water is and work out what a third or a half of that would be, you can gauge how far your soap's cured by the weight it loses. So that's another option. Me, I just go for the give it 8 months and that should be about right approach. I'm not too scientific about it, I'm quite scientific and accurate about the actual mixing and whatnot, but not so much about the curing. So this is just some greaseproof paper just to keep the top from getting any dust on it. Because it's got open sides anyway, so I've got plenty of ventilation. I'm not concerned about the spiders in my wardrobe, because they didn't really take any interest in the previous batch I had up there. So today is the 16th or 16th of January. So this is coming out at the end of the month. If I remember, I'll do a quick update before I publish the video. If not, you'll see these again when I actually make my soap box, which is another thing that's on the list for this year. And I've got about 20 different options. So yeah, when I decide what my soap box is going to look like, this one will be the first one in the box. So yeah, I'll see you again tomorrow.